Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. You know, guys, when I look at all the 2023 mock drafts with the combine coming up, they're pretty much all going to be useless. So why not do something different and do a quick, way too early look at the 2024 NFL draft? Who is aligning to get Caleb Williams? He is probably, could you imagine if Caleb Williams was eligible this year? He would be the number one prospect in front of Bryce Young, in front of C.J. Stroud, in front of Will Levis. That is not the case. So the question becomes, which team really goes all out to tank for Caleb Williams? That's what we're going to look at. And this is the most recent 2024 mock from, looks like it's about a month ago, or January 17th. So a little less than a month ago, with Caleb Williams going to the Atlanta Falcons. And I have to say, guys, I might call something right here and say I could see a scenario where the LA Rams somehow end up with Caleb Williams. If they're not having a good year next year, they can trade Jalen Ramsey, get a first-round pick. They could probably trade Matt Stafford if he has any value left. And I could see them trying to move up to get Caleb Williams, because I did see that they do have their first-round pick. But Caleb Williams, very likely going to be the number one pick. Which teams are in the market for him? Houston very likely getting their franchise quarterback. You would figure Chicago, I guess maybe a little bit of a question mark. We have to see Justin Fields continue to develop. It's looking like he's a franchise quarterback, but it's not set in stone. Arizona is another team with Kyler Murray. That injury, he's probably not going to come back for until midseason. He's going to be rusty. Could Arizona possibly look to move on from Kyler Murray, and if they tank next year, end up with Caleb Williams? Of course, this mock draft has the Atlanta Falcons, who I was really critical of the Atlanta Falcons' year last year. I don't know why they played Marcus Mariota for so long. It makes no sense. Let's see what Desmond Ridder is. Let's give him some time. And really, you shouldn't be winning these games. Atlanta screwed themselves out of a top 5 pick because they won too many games. Jared Verse, the really good edge rusher who transferred to Florida State, everyone was shocked that he went back to school, so he is not going to be in the 2023 draft. That's why he's showing up here. He's not going to be the number 2 overall pick, but I could see him being a top 10 pick. He is a really good edge rusher, and he would have very likely been a top 20 pick this past year. Kool-Aid McKinstry, yes, he changed his name. I think it's an NIL thing. I would say he's the number 1 cornerback in the class. I don't see him going number 3, but he is probably going to go top 10. Tyler Davis, that's definitely a projection. I haven't heard much about Tyler Davis. I remember him being, a solid 4-star recruit, but 4 overall is pretty crazy. We'll see what Chicago does this year. They may get Jalen Carter. In that case, they're certainly not picking a big interior defensive lineman like Tyler Davis. Marvin Harrison Jr., guaranteed top 10 pick, probably top 5. Unbelievable receiver. He'd be the number 1 receiver in this year's draft. Pritchett, a cornerback from Auburn, I'm not familiar with, but that's good news for Auburn. Trice, an edge rusher from Washington, I'm not familiar with him either. Drake May will likely be the number 1 or number 2 overall pick, probably number 2 behind Caleb Williams. But yeah, Drake May, I compare Drake May to Justin Herbert personally. That's the comparison I would draw. Tommy Eichenberg, there's no way. I like Tommy Eichenberg. It was a little surprising that he didn't declare this past year. He was probably going to be a second-round pick. The one thing the NFL doesn't like at all is these kind of old-school type linebackers that really can't cover. Eichenberg has a little bit of a speed deficiency. It's not terrible, but it is there. So I would say Eichenberg probably a second-round pick. Cooper Beebe, I believe he ended up going back to Kansas State, which was kind of a surprise, but I think he's a guard. Is he a tackle? I don't know. Spencer Rattler, who is going back to South Carolina. It'll be interesting with Spencer Rattler. They've got the Rams getting him. I mean, what is Matt Stafford's future like with the concussions, with him getting older, with Sean McVay questioning retirement every year? There's a lot of stuff that's up in the air right now when it comes to him. Brandon Dorlus, an interior defensive lineman from Oregon. I'm not familiar with him. J.C. Latham, he's a former 5-star. He's a former number 1 overall offensive tackle. Another edge rusher from Washington. A receiver from Washington. They have 3 different Washington players going in the top 15. Seems rather unlikely, but, it's a really early mock. Denzel Burke. I think Denzel Burke will have a bounce-back year for Ohio State, but he did not have a good year last year. He did have an amazing true freshman season, but which is very rare for a cornerback. Normally, it takes corners at least a year of adjustment from high school to college. Moore, the safety from Alabama, he ends up going back to Bama. I saw several mock drafts with him in the first round last year, but he's back now. And he will be in the 2024 class. Cade Stover, I would be shocked if Cade Stover is a first-round pick. He just doesn't have good enough hands, but he is a unique, bigger athlete. Dallas Turner, the former 5-star edge rusher. Is this the transfer? No way. So Michigan got a 5-star transfer from Alabama, and they're projecting him to go 20th overall. This kid was a known bust. He transfers to Michigan. I mean, last year he was okay. I don't think he lit the world on fire, but now they've got him going in the first round. Chris Abrams-Draney, a cornerback from Missouri. I don't even know him. JTT, here we go. So JT Tuimoloau, probably going to be a top 5 pick, top 10 minimum. He's an absolute beast. Kind of a hybrid defensive tackle edge rusher. He would be great in a 3-4. Ohio State runs a 4-3, but he'd be really good on the end in a 3-4. This offensive tackle from Penn State is probably going to be a top 10 pick. Blake Corum is not going to be a first-round pick. No way. And honestly, Blake Corum going back to Michigan is probably going to hurt his stock no matter how well he does because there's more miles on his legs. He must have got a crazy NIL deal. I mean, he's a good running back, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, from a financial perspective, it would make a lot of sense for him to come out, even with the injury. I mean, teams aren't going to not draft you just because you're injured. They're hoping you're going to get more healthy. That's the expectation. Deion Sanders' son, I'm guessing they just put that in. I mean, I've heard some hype about him. I have. It'll be interesting. He's at a Power 5 conference now, and Colorado has a tough schedule. Tyler Nubin, a rare safety from Minnesota in the first round. Trotter Jr., a linebacker from Clemson. Jack Sawyer. They've been playing Jack Sawyer way out of position. Yeah, Ohio State has to. Jack Sawyer should be with his hand in the dirt on the end for sure. Hopefully that's where he plays, but he's struggled. He's a former 5-star. Emeka Egbuka, he's probably going to be a top 20 pick, I would say. Corey Foreman, whatever happened to Corey Foreman? He needs a big season. He was a number 1 overall player. DJ James, and then Leonard Taylor, who's I think he's a pure defensive tackle. The former number 3 overall player. Players not included. KJ Jefferson, maybe similar to Anthony Richardson. Brock Bowers was not included in a first-round mock draft. This is useless. Brock Bowers is like a top 3 player. Mason Smith, Michael Hall, Jack Nelson, and some other players there. So this is just kind of something fun to look at. The only thing I could really take away from this is can we look at the quarterbacks? I don't know. Let me see. Go to the big boards in 2024. Look at the quarterback. No, that's not what I wanted. I think it's the consensus big board. Go to this 2024 quarterbacks and see who really the top quarterbacks are. So, yeah, I would say Caleb Williams is 1. Drake May is 2. Probably Spencer Rattler is 3. KJ Jefferson is 4. Oh, you know what? Quinn Ewers is probably going to be a top 5 pick. I mean, he's going to have to show some things, but Quinn Ewers is your prototypical Trevor Lawrence type build, strong arm quarterback. So right now I would say probably Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick, Drake May number 2, Quinn Ewers top 5. Spencer Rattler is kind of a question mark. Bo Nix, how high could he go? Penix Jr., I think Bo Nix could be a second rounder. Will Rogers, this is a good quarterback class. I mean, it's a pretty strong one. McCord, it'll be interesting with Kyle McCord. J.J. McCarthy, boy, what does J.J. McCarthy do? So J.J. McCarthy will be going into his third season. He's really not a pro prospect, though. So will he go back for a senior season? You know what? I'm guessing Michigan, with the way they were able to get everyone to return with the NIL, they'll probably get him back. That is my guess. But yeah, this is actually a really good class. You know, Sam Hartman, definitely probably more of like a fourth rounder. Kyle McCord, depending on how Ryan Day develops him, he could be honestly like a top 15 pick. It's the way Ryan Day develops quarterbacks. But to me, Ewers will be a first rounder. Drake May will be a top 5 pick. Williams will be the number 1 overall pick. Rattler might be a first rounder. Kyle McCord might be a first rounder. So there's really, Jackson Dart. There's still a lot of talent with that class when you look at the quarterbacks. The running backs, it's been tough with Trevion Henderson. He's definitely probably the most talented player, but he did have significant injuries last year. Blake Corum, I would say probably second or third round pick. Not familiar with Watson, McDuffie, Dylan McDuffie, huh? Will Shipley, he's a former 5-star. I could see him being like a third or a fourth rounder. Wheaton, he was formerly at Alabama. He ended up transferring. Donovan Edwards will be way higher than that. I don't know what they're doing with him. Braylon Allen will be way higher than that as well. So these rankings really are, it's like one person just threw a dart at a board. Marvin Harrison will be a top 5 pick. Emeka Ibuka will be a first rounder. Xavier Worthy will probably be a first rounder. Jalen McMillan I really like. Other than, it's kind of a weak class. We'll see with Mario Williams. Mario Williams should develop. But maybe a little bit of a weak class for the receivers outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. Tight ends, Brock Bowers, probably top 5. Sanders is a former 5-star. He's a kind of a Darnell Washington type athlete. Really interesting athlete. Cade Stover's probably a second rounder. Eric All, we'll see how he does at Iowa. It's going to be pretty tough for Eric All, transferring. Maybe Iowa puts some emphasis and they do better on offense, but I don't know. These are 2 really good offensive tackles, especially the kid from Michigan State. We will see, but yeah, I want to look at the edge rushers really quickly. Verse, Turner, Sawyer, Xavier Thomas is still back. Man, I can't believe he's still in college. But yeah, guys, so that's basically the 2024. There's really so there is only one big board. I'm just going to roll through some 2023 mock drafts. Oh, these are team mock drafts. I was going to say Emmanuel Forbes going number 1 overall. That's pretty amazing. But where are the actual mock drafts? 2023 mock drafts. So a lot of the mock drafts I've been seeing, C.J. Stroud, is the number 1 pick, or Bryce Young. Those are the main ones, with Indianapolis trading up. Anthony Richardson at number 3. But a lot of these are very similar. Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Will Levis, C.J. Stroud. Bijan Robinson. To me, there's no way that Bijan Robinson goes 3. I could see Bijan Robinson going maybe 9 or 10, though. I mean, he's really good. I know he's a running back. Anthony Richardson going number 1 overall to Indianapolis. That seems like a troll. That one seems like a troll. But yeah, all of these are similar. You've got Houston trading from 2 to 1. Indianapolis trading from 4 to 2. I wonder if there's any outliers here, but it looks like that's kind of the thing. And there's really no consensus number 1 overall pick with these at all. There's just no overall consensus. So we will see, guys, but I just wanted to go over some of the 2024 prospects. Either way, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.